And so what happened was, he really began to then brag. Ah, look at this, da 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 da. Look at my nephew, what he did. 4 days later, and Lionel Quinoa, some of you may have known him. 4 days later, this uncle woke up, and he was the only teepee left in the camp. Only teepee left in the camp. And they all went to be with the Shunkawico. And it was him that changed the entire way that we dealt with what had been before counting coup. You count coup. You didn't want to, because if you killed an enemy, they'd ask, why did you kill him? You took his soul. Why? He's got relatives. But he realized after a while, to the point even, the coup sticks, you can see this in museums, that as they began to deal with the military, the bayonets, as they put the bayonets in the guns, the coup sticks got longer. They said, these guys aren't playing fair. You got the coup sticks later. Then they realized, you know, after Sand Creek, after various things happened, and you know the stories. They happened here, they happened there. Genocide. They realized we have to become one heart and one mind and many bodies. Because he would set up these ambushes, but the young men would ride out there. They wanted to count coup. Well, anyway, as a result of bringing the people's hearts and minds together, as you know, he fought the U.S. government 22 times. He beat them 22 times. He never lost. And then, you know, they were at Greasy Grass, Little Bighorn. Over 20,000 relatives, Cheyennes, Arapahoes, all the great Sioux Nation. The remnants, there wasn't many. They'd come from one last hunt. They'd come from one last Sundance. They started on June 21st. And of course, we know the story of what happened there. General George Armstrong Custer came with the 7th Cavalry. And in just some moments, less than an hour, they were gone. And of course, because of that, the U.S. military had a tremendous revenge. Wounded Knee, 7th Cavalry. The people that killed all the Korean relatives, 7th Cavalry, the 7th Cavalry. But we also have to pray, because we all have to come to a reckoning if we do these kind of things. Anyway, when he was finally brought into Fort Robinson under a false promise, told, because he was the last one to come in, last one, 36 years old, and he had his 2 friends on either arm. They told him, we're going to come and bring you to the adjutant general, and there you're going to have food for the people, because he saw the children were starving. That's why this little bit of rain is nothing. Dokashni, nothing. And so as he was going into the guardhouse, he looked and he realized they weren't taking him. I mean, what he thought was to be the commander's office. They were taking him in a guardhouse. It was a slender hall like this, and he reached for his knife. And both his friends held him. And they took and shoved this bayonet in the side of the wall, stuck in the wall, pulled it back, plunged it in his back. And they say, the ones that were there, and this Lionel Quinoa and others, I've sought this out all my life, he spun as he fell one time. But he said to his brothers, he said, my brothers, you can let go. You've hurt me enough already. Because in his vision it said he could ride in front of the military's bullets. He'd never be killed. And he did. He'd ride right in front with a blanket. And at the time he rode, they would be shooting at him. He'd let go and throw those, open that blanket up, and the bullets would fly out. That was his power. And so they took him that night, and they put him again in a barred house, a barred room. And with him were his best friend, Touch the Clouds, 7 feet tall, kind of like Darcy Demas. Not quite, but 7 feet tall. And his father loved his son so much, when he received the name Tashunka Wiko Crazy Horse, he took the name Worm. to show his humbleness before his son. So I always think of this scene. Here's touch the earth, the heavens, and worm the earth. Here's Tashunka Iko laid out in this old army cot. He always liked to sleep close to his mother. Here is those oil lamps, kind of a yellow color in that room. Standing outside there were all the Lakota people that were there. Over several thousand, standing there in the cold. And not a sound. Not one sound. And they say early in the morning, 1 or 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, his eyes opened. He looked over to his father. And he said, "My beloved father, tell the people I am mortally wounded. I'm bad hurt. And I cannot serve them anymore." The strange man of the Oglalas had died. But he said, "I will come back to the thunder and the lightning and the rain." Mitakuye, they feared Tashunka Wiko so much before his mom and dad came, his mother and father came to receive his body. They sawed it in half. They sawed his body in half. They gave that body to his mother and father in just a little 3-foot box. And the last thing they said, they saw, was he was being taken by his mom and dad. The little team and wagon. And his relatives, the Ice family, others, they know where they took him. He's there, peacefully. They took him and buried him. Nobody else could disturb him like they did Tatanka Yotanka, Sitting Bull. They disturbed his grave. Well, I just tell you this, that's why we bring this at this time, the time of our arising. We know that one of these pipes was, one pipe, we know made it here. We know that. We know there was another one that was there, but we don't know what happened because the beautiful sister that had that pipe passed away from cancer. But that pipe was kept by elders back in South Dakota quietly. And then, as you know, around the late 1840s, when our relatives came back from World War II with this disease of alcoholism that spread because of all the trauma they went through. In World War I, you know, we weren't even citizens of the United States or Canada at that point, and yet we have served more to these countries than anybody. No other people have stood for this land as we have. So our veterans, we honor them for that. For they stood up to protect this land. Not all get the politics of it for that purpose. They stood up when we weren't even citizens. And so they realized that these things might somehow, something happen. And in Hermiston, Oregon, Umatilla, Oregon, there's a series of banks there. And if you have any of you been to the Gonzaga Museum, American Indian Museum there? Well, there's a big museum. And there is an elder woman. She's passed away many, many years now. Her name is Doris Bounds. And I happened to grow up around there. And she was very trusted. She was adopted into the Umatilla tribe, Crows. Many tribes adopted her because they could trust her. And she owns a series of banks. She's gone now. So they brought that pipe back there and they put it in a bank vault, a great big one. The door is about this big. And that pipe sat quietly for over 30 years. In 1980, December 29th, that pipe came back. And it's been 30 years. It's quietly gone to prisons. It's gone to different places in the world very quietly. It was here last year. But nothing was said. Nobody said. We had a little sweat. So today, we, through the elders' permissions, It's been brought here. It's here. And we're going to pray with it here in this design that pray with it in the bag. Very old. But all I can say is I don't want to, say anything that's this or that. There's some, you have to have your own experience. Nothing I can say. And again, there's other traditions for others. Some of you may know of him, but we felt it was important that he do know that we have held on. We have not forgotten Tashunka Wiko. We have not forgotten all our sacred things. And that's like in this camp, there's so many bundles. So after this ceremony in the earth house, how do you say that in the language here? In the pit house. They prepared it with cedar and everything. That will be there. Tashunka Wiko Shinupa Waka will be there. It'll be there if anybody wants to come and pray, hold it, pray. It'll be there. And then it'll be here today. Sweat, after the sweat, it'll go again. Be quiet until the next time it's called. But this is protecting the sacred. We are the sacred. Each of us is a sovereignty. Each of us is a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. Each of our nations are a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. And I just give you thanksgiving for all of you who are here. It's been such a joy. Those I've got a chance to shake hands with. I have been given life here on these lands and down on the Coast Salish relatives in different tribes and nations. So, in our Dakota language, we say little bits I know here and there, songs. We say, like my name, I have two names. I got one when I was 12 from my grandfather, Chante Washte, strong heart. It simply means my name is Shungmano, a leader of warriors who takes the enemy's best horses, and I stand responsible for my words and my actions. And my old grandfather, Frank White Buffalo Man, I guess from stealing horses, it means horse thief. I guess I got a little more peaceful later in my life, and he came when I was 24. He came to see my dad, had what they call an Indian visit. That's where you come. That's where you come in October, you leave in April. That's an Indian visit. I like those. He came for an Indian visit, and he gave me the name. So I'd say, Shinupa Sapa Hemeyado. It says, my name is a sacred black pipe born of thunder, lightning, and rain, and I stand responsible to the Creator for my words and actions, or black pipe. So I thank you. We'll take a little time now. We've got Brother Robert Nahaney here, and we're going to have offer a pipe here. We're going to have Darcy put his drum right out in the center. And there's some sisters who are going to pray around in the circle. We're going to have people of the four directions, and everybody is welcome to come and pray together and give thanksgiving. And we're going to put relatives from the four directions, from other parts of the human family. Mitaki, this one last thing. Our prophecies say clearly, we shall become Sulalumen, we shall shed light to the entire world. We shall do this. And that means we've got to realize we can't wait around for governments, for multinational corporations, for people to tell us how to do it this way. We need to come together just like we're doing and move forward. And these ideas that somehow that this spiritual power can be overcome by making relatives with other members of the human family, from my perspective, is just, I don't see how. There's no power in heaven and earth armed with our prayers of our elders. There's any power in heaven and earth that can harm us. So with that spirit and thought, we'll invite those relatives from the human family. But please also, if you're entering this circle, even myself, wherever I go, take time to watch. Take time to listen. We're here in the Statliam Nation's land. We're here. This is their home. You walk in somebody's living room, be careful what you're smoking. Yeah, really. Be careful about that. You know, walk softly.